See, good ones like this are good anyway, I reckon. Something different.
We can learn how to shoot.
That's right. Are we live? Going live, going live. Alrighty guys, I think we are live. So today, we've got Greg over and he's going to talk us through his process. But before that, let's, we're going to...
Authorise him. My authenticity. Alright, so, this year...
Here are the two different ways you can find...
I've stuffed it up. Okay, we're back.
Are we back?
We're back.
And we're live.
We're live. Alright, so just don't think it's live, just continue on because it's going to be replayed.
It's going to be recorded,
later.
okay. I'm just going to go through the process today of how I got to where I was. You would have seen all our other videos when we first started, like about 2 years ago. But this year I won every gold medal in the state for my division. So I won gold medal state field, gold medal short course, that's 60, 50, 40. Gold medal clout, started doing clout, found a farm to practice clout on, and indoor 18 meters gold medal, fourth in Australia.
Fourth in Australia?
Yeah, no one likes fourth though.
I come fourth too.
And target 1440 gold.
Gold.
So then I went to the nationals, and I didn't shoot. I didn't have a real good time. We talked about that before, but I did win the best all-round compound and master because I scored the most points in the 4 compound, short course, 1440, and field. I scored more points than anyone else, so I got that plaque. That was lovely, and I got 2 gold and 2 silver medals at the nationals. That silver gutted me. I was so far ahead on the first day, no one could catch me. I got to 50 and I lost control, which is what we're going to talk about today. I lost my focus, and I let them catch up, and I ended up with the same score, 1384 for the 1440, and they went to count back at 10s and X's, and I lost 94 to 93. So that's a stinking silver medal there.
That's that one.
Yep. But so what I want to talk about today is how to shoot. How to do it, right? So it's called the process, and Brian Politis is one of the greatest shooters in the state and probably in Masters. He got a gold, a silver, and a bronze at his age. He's like a veteran, and he's still shooting really well. And I've learned a lot off him. And he calls it the process. Ooh. The process. Now, the most important thing about the process when you're shooting is you forget about what happened before. Is that going to be backwards the whole time, or is that just...
No, just
that's lucky. That's lucky. All right.
Way.
So the process is from before the shot starts to when the shot ends, right? And that's what shooting is all about. And you've just got to make that perfect and be able to do that 144 times or 90 times or 72 times usually, right, in the field. So what Brian Politis taught me was that you don't think about anything else but the process while you're shooting. For example, we've got this young fella that we can't name at a club that we can't name, and he's consistently worried about what he got last time, what he's going to get, how far ahead or behind is he from me to beat me.
Speaking of him, he's watching now.
Is he watching now? That's the best way to wreck your shooting, is to be worried about before and after. The next thing is people who look in their scope all the time. If you're on, you're on. If you're going to look every single time, it's just going to break. You must be thinking about, what was that shot? What was that shot? You're going to be confident you're hitting the X every time. Why aren't you hitting the X every time? Because you keep looking down like that. So, the important thing about the process is before and after it, there is nothing. It's irrelevant what happened before it. It's irrelevant what's going to happen after it. It's just the one shot, and that's all you think about. That's what Brian Politis told me. That's how you calm down as well. If you're just thinking about the process from the beginning and the end of it, you're not going to get worked up, you're not going to get worried. So let's break the process down. I've broken it down, James, into three different parts. So, 3, yeah.
Number 1?
Well, we're going to divide it into 3 like that.
Here we go. Different colours and everything.
Yeah, so remember that. So remember, there is nothing before the process, there is nothing after the process, just the process. So the first thing of the process is your what we would call your stance. see how this one works. Is your stance. We could call that the stance.
Thanks for the subscription, you longbowman, you.
Oh, this isn't going to help longbowmen very well. But so the first part of your process is the stance. The next part we could call it the pin. I'm going to call it the pin, and the last part of the process is the release. That's the three parts. Now the first part really is your feet where you're standing. That's very important. So we're going to put feet there. So you can look at this later and take a picture of it if you want on a still screen. So the first thing is your feet. Now there's a thing called the tailor bear butt. Did you ever do that with me?
The tailor bear butt. I remember it.
Yeah, you stand at 30 meters, you raise up, and you must keep the pin without moving on a very small dot for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, you shut your eye and you go through the process of the release without looking, so it's not affected.
Robert just gave us $20 for the tips.
Well, you might want to give another 50 after I've gone through all this.
I love you, Robert.
All right then. So I've noticed that if you face the target and you're shooting the target with your eyes closed, if you relax your body, you won't be centered. It's just say your feet are in line like that. Your feet are in line. You shut your eyes and you shoot, and the arrows are over here. So what you do is you move that foot over to face that, so your body's not fighting where the arrow's going to go. So I learned where to put my feet. Oh dear. So the feet's the first thing. You've got to work out where to put your feet. And there's people stand a different way. They work out how they want to do it, which is comfortable for them. But I find another way to do it is you shut your eyes, you face the target, say put your feet square to the target, shut your eyes, put your bow up like that with your eyes closed, and when you open your eyes, you'll see where you're pointed. You might be pointed that far away from the target to the left. Well, that's where you should be facing, and then there's no resistance of you coming back this way, having to straighten up this way to make your shot.
I think that twisting of the hips really puts a lot of pressure into the shot, doesn't it? Like throwing it left and right.
You don't want your stance to be pulling you a different way. You want to be absolutely neutral. So getting the feet right is the first thing. Now, the second thing is settling with your hand. So what I do is I push my hand into the riser, and I get my release, and without pulling back, I just get them set in their exact position.
So this is still all in the first.
This is still the stance. So you've got your front hand.
Jose, how are you, buddy? Robert says he let me buy you lunch.
Great.
Thanks, Robert.
So your front hand and your release. So you're standing in the right spot. Your front hand and your release, you set them like this without drawing back, and they're in the exact right position. Now, you address the target, which means you look straight at the target with your head. You address the target. You look at it as if you're going to make the shot. You look straight at the target. You then raise your bow up at the target, and you can feel that this is in the right spot. You've got the good grip there with the 45-degree knuckles in a pro grip, and you're not holding onto the bow. It's just pulling back like that, and you pull back with your release this way, but your head doesn't move. Your head doesn't move. So if I'm looking at the target, I pull my bow back. My head hasn't moved. I'm looking straight through the peep sight. What you've got to stop doing is pulling back and then moving your hand, your release hand into where it should be, then moving your head, getting all straightened up and like that. You've also got to stop twitching, lips moving. Like I've seen them do it. And then even there, and the thumbs start to go like this already. You've got to stop all that.
The dancing on the
dancing thumb.
The dancing on the.
That's not even part of the release. That's part of the stance.
That's the stance.
So once you address the target, you pull back straight. So you've got to pull back straight, and by the time you're finished, there is no movement.
No dancing. And by thumb dancing, this is what we mean. You come up, you start at target, thumb just starts doing this one.
Yeah. So you pull back straight. If the arrow goes off accidentally, it's going to hit the target because you pointed straight at the target. You're not off the target. You know, people, they come up and they come down. And it's just a disaster. You should just pull straight back and you are on the target. Head doesn't move. Your eye was looking at the target before you drew back. You pull back. You're still looking at the target, and now the peep sight is in front of your eye. No movement. That you've got to master that. That's called the stance.
Thing, I think. Yeah, but a big thing. If you're struggling pulling it straight back like this, get tougher, get stronger.
Oh, we haven't talked about that yet.
Oh, yeah, because that's a big thing. Everybody goes, well, I can't pull it straight back. That's why I do the higher draw to try and get a bit more
Drop your
power.
Poundage or go to the gym.
That's right. Yeah.
I've started, there's a couple of things I've put in place now so that I can get from 110 rating to 115 rating next year to go in the Open and win the Open. Because I won all the Masters. There's no point staying in Masters and go back to the Open. There's a couple of things. One of them is I'm going to the gym to get stronger in the arms.
Can only help.
It can only help. So weakness is going to ruin this first part, the stance. You're not going to be able to do it properly if you're not strong enough.
Strength is the main thing to do with.
Well, you either drop your poundage or you get stronger.
Don't have excuses. Oh, I'm old. Oh, this. Oh, that. I hurt my wrist the other week. Oh,
no,
this, that.
I think you can.
If you can't pull it straight back, lower your poundage or get to the gym.
Right. So by the time you finish the stance section, you're up like that. This is in the perfect position, of course.
Compound.
You're looking straight through the peep sight, and there is no movement. There's no movement. You're not adjusting your eyes. You're not moving your head. You are looking straight at the pin. Now, the problem is with archery, you can't see what other people see. Like when you're watching football, you got a good idea of what they're seeing and why they make their decisions, right? But with archery, I've got no idea what Pat Coughlin's looking at.
Well, no, yeah, I've
got no idea what you're looking at. You don't know what I see. But I'm trying to explain what I see.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. We're talking about pin and circles.
So the pin is the next thing. You can't make the shot unless the pin's on the target. So first thing you've got to do is have pin faith. That's why you take a couple of shots. This is called the source out here. We don't want to ever shoot into the source. Okay, that's red.
Yep, that's the red.
That's red. We don't want to be
tomato sauce.
We don't want to ever be in this red area here. Looks like an eyeball, doesn't it?
It does. You've done a good job.
One of Jimmy's eyeballs when he's pulled over by the cops. So this is your 10. That's your 9. So I'm imagining that you know, I have a feeling, by the way, some people shoot, but like I said, I can't see what they're seeing, so I can only imagine that this is what they're seeing when they're looking through their scope. Because it's going off and they're getting 7s and 8s. It must be moving around all over the place. If it isn't, if it is somewhere in the centre and they're still hitting a 7 and 8, the problem is obviously in the release, isn't it? All right?
That's right.
But we're not up to the release yet. What we've got to do is we've got to get that pin in the centre. We have to get that pin into the centre. Now this is what
Keep going.
This is what I see. Because I've been going to the gym and I've been practicing a lot and shooting a lot. Mine is it just stays in the 10.
Just dances outside the 10.
It rarely ever leaves the 10, but it's just moving, and I've just got to get it to be still. Now the problem is though that once it is still, I think most people panic. Go, stop moving! What am I going to do? I'm going to blow it when I do the release.
Go now, go!
And that's like what they call a target panic.
Target panic.
Target panic,
of course.
You get target panic, right? When it stops in the middle, because you think, I can't release it, I won't be able to release it, I won't be able to do it. So what I'm doing is I do the Taylor bare butt practice where I hold it for 10 seconds. I've got to keep that pin there not moving for 10 seconds. Another good way to practice is use a back tension release.
Oh, because
a back tension release makes you have to hold it here all the time.
You do have to hold non-stop.
Yeah, so I just use I just practice holding it in the centre without really even firing. I just practice, I try to keep it there for 10 seconds. I go to the gym to strengthen my arms. And of course, a lot of shooting, you get stronger as well. But the idea is that I want my pin to be in this area here. And sometimes I do it and it's not really good. It's out here and I can feel it moving back, and that's when I take the shot. and usually it goes in, but we call that a
drive-by.
A drive-by. You really don't want to have drive-bys. I think most people who drive by are usually out here and they're coming back.
The standard drive-by.
The standard drive-by, yeah. But you've really got to be able to keep your pin within the 10 ring.
So whether it's a standard drive-by or a professional drive-by, it's still a drive-by.
Yeah, and you really don't want to have to shoot that way. It's yeah. You want the pin in there. Now Jimmy and I have both noticed that if your pin is here, you're going to get an X if you release properly. If it's here, you're not going to get an outside 10, you're going to get a 9. And if you release it there, you're probably going to get an 8. See? It doesn't work like a rifle. It doesn't go where the pin was. It seems to go out further than where the pin was. It's amplified. So you've really got to train to get that here. Now, what I'm doing is showing you all these things. You can't just fix it all. You've got to look at one problem you've got, like your feet, and you've got to sort that out. And once that's sorted out, you can move on to something else, because there's so many things in the process, yet you can't just go, I just got to shoot a lot and see if I hit the target, see if my score gets better. You must make this process perfect. And that's why these guys are so good, because they've made the process perfect. They've just gone, they're shooting a lot of arrows. Oh, look, he can shoot really well. Your John Dudleys and your Rio Wiles and your Pat Coglins, all these guys, they're stuck because, they just shoot a lot of arrows. No. They have perfected this process. They've perfected it. Totally. And every time they shoot the same shot every single time. So you've got to do work to be able to keep that pin in the center.
So Adam just said perceived movement is different to actual movement. So if you predict the movement, it's going to be different to what the actual movement is.
Well, there you go.
And that's what we're saying about the drive-by, aren't we? We think it's going to end up here, but it ends up here.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect stance, very...
Love you, Robert.
Not moving. You can get your pin into the center. You can still blow the shot by punching, flicking the release. So now the release, it's very important. So I use a stand shoot off, which is what Pat
Before we go
Coglin,
further, Death Shadow just asked, what do we do to get a better hold? So
what do you mean a better hold?
So go over, like getting the pin to stay in the center more. So we just went over that with more weights, with the Greg Taylor bear butt. Yeah. That's his way of.
If your bow's too heavy and you're not strong enough, you've got too much weight on your bow, weight like stabiliser weight and that. Well, you can't hold it up, so you better get to the gym. Because I can't think of any other way, or you've got to take the weight off. You've got no choice, but you should be able to hold it steady.
Well, that's it.
If you're a shaky, nervous person, you might as well take up another sport.
But the process, what did you say? The bear butt. The Taylor bear butt is how Greg gets his hold better.
But that's how
he brings up and he holds for 10 seconds and he lets down or has his shot.
No, I shut my eyes and then I just I practice releasing without moving. So I'm working on that.
So it's a double.
It's a double.
It's a double. You get the hold, you practice the hold, then you close your eyes.
And it doesn't matter where it goes.
Doesn't
matter where it goes.
But you practice the hold first.
Exactly. So you hold for 10 seconds for the practice.
Okay.
And like you see a lot of compound shooters, they just come to go bang, because they think if I'm going to get tighter and tighter and shoot more and more, and they just shoot real quick.
Robert, I love you, buddy.
Check later, Jimmy. Thanks, Greg.
I love you, buddy.
So, what I noticed when I was doing it, when I was holding up on the target for 10 seconds, and really trying to just keep that pin in there and not moving, practicing that. And then I'd close my eyes, relax, and I'd do the perfect release. Because when your eyes are shut, you can feel that your release is perfect, right?
And when there's no target.
But I noticed that all my arrows were, when I'd shut my eyes, were coming over this way. That's when I realised I needed to change my foot position.
See, it all comes back together. Yes. One thing leads to the other thing.
It all has to come
together. And you can work out one mistake from
another. That is correct.
Brilliant.
So I realised when I'd shut my eyes and relaxed, that I was just going like that because that was where my natural stance was, to shoot across there. So when I changed my foot position, I was straight ahead. They're going that way. So what I do is, I know that I actually want to turn that way, so I just move my front foot over. And then...
now you're coming out straight.
But then you've got to have... Then that is pointed at the... Yeah, so you're like that to the target. You've moved your foot, or say you move your back foot back. So it was lining up that way. And it's a good idea to put pins in the ground. Just put some markers in the ground for both your feet so you know that every time you shoot after each end, you're at the same spot. So that's how we got to there. Now the release is crucial because it's very hard to release without moving, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of different releases.
Keep going.
So with the release, I use a stand shoot off. So it looks like, it basically looks like, there's your thumb thing here, but you've got, there's your release onto your D loop there. But I found out at the Nationals this year that Pat Coughlin releases using his pinky.
Mr. Pat
doesn't use his thumb. He puts his thumb on, so he puts his thumb on there.
So he's using a 4-fingered release then, is he? He has to be.
Puts his thumb on there. So he puts his thumb on, and then he's got this here, and witnesses have seen him just go on and just boom with the pinky. And I've started to do that. This is another thing I'm changing for this year, is not releasing with my thumb. And already my groups have tightened up.
Really?
They don't, yeah, already. Because when you tend to use your thumb, you tend to push in a certain direction. And it's always going to make the arrow go like that if you push.
Ah, okay, yep, rotate.
When you push, when you pull back with your finger, with your pinky, it's more like a back tension release. It's more like a back tension release. So there are basically 3 ways to set it off. You can set it off with your thumb, but I found setting off with your thumb always leads to punching. I started to set it off with thumb and pinky, and I got better results.
So you were using both?
I was trying to pull the whole release back.
Squeeze.
Then pull the whole release back, which is like a back tension. But since I've just been using the pinky by itself, I found that is even better. So I've just got to work on that. But I still have to keep thinking about it all the time. What you've got to do is get your process where you don't need to think about it. But
it just gets locked in.
It's very hard. It's very hard. I've had the coach, Gary Pearce, standing behind me, and when I was using my thumb, and I think I've got my thumb on, I think it's on, and I just squeeze. But he said, "No, your thumb was off." And I think, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. How could it be off? I thought it was on. But that's how hard it is. That's how hard you have to check. And that's why you can't check everything. You've got to be working on one thing. So you might be working on trying to get your release. Well, don't worry about the rest of it. I would close my eyes, because I'm not even worried about hitting the target. I shut my eyes, and I just feel that I'm not doing anything wrong when I release. And it doesn't matter where it goes on the target, but I'm just working on that one thing. So I found it very hard not to use my thumb since I've been back from the Nationals, which is like 2 weeks. I'm trying to just use my pinky, but I'm telling you, I'm shooting better. But I still forget. And when I get into, when I'm not sure, I'm not saying I'm panicking, but when you get a little bit less confident, you tend to thumb it.
Okay.
And you can't do that. You just got to stop doing it that way. You've got to stick to the one way. And I'm pretty sure that I found after trying thumb, and pinky, that pinky is the best way to go.
Adam's saying that the thumb is pulling it back on the centre line. That's why those people think the thumb's better. But what we're doing is we're just going off Pat Coughlin's theory, because Pat Coughlin broke all the national records this year in Australia, didn't he?
He was 1 point off the world record, and he broke the Australian record for the 1440.
What did he get? 1404?
1404 and 421 in the field. That was one
421 in the field. He was killing it. So that's why we're starting to copy old Pat.
Yeah.
And he shoots with the little finger. That's what we're getting. So what we're going on further, though, this is only Greg's process. This isn't how you should do it. This is just how Greg become national champion.
I'm just letting you know how I got all that hardware down there. That's all. And excellent. Oh,
Here are the 2 different ways you can find me.
What's going on?
Sorry, we got lost there for a minute.
I'm showing you the hardware.
Oh, yeah. So, see, my thumb release is out here, because my hand is so big. Look, I mean, that's ridiculous. Look at that gate. It's just nothing there.
Is that a small release or a big
So,
hand?
yeah, I tend to push. I have to push in. I don't go like that and pull back, see. I have to push up, and that's what turns it. But I found with the pinky, because I've got that extra bit there, that I put my thumb on it just like that, and I just, with the pinky, and it goes off. With the thumb you can punch, you can see it moving, you can see it, you're going to move, you're released, but when you do it with that, it might not.
Because the thumb's holding it in the right spot. The thumb
And not
stops
moving.
it from moving.
Yeah,
Thumb
and the pinky,
stops it from moving.
I haven't punched it with my pinky yet. I don't think you can.
Ah,
I don't think it's possible to punch with your pinky, but you can certainly do it with your thumb. You know what I mean? But as I said, all releases are different, and I use a
forefinger.
I bought that one off that guy, that brass Sweet Spot 2. And
Ethan, thanks Ethan.
I thank Ethan, thank you. I bought that off him, and I train with that because it keeps you getting to pull back. There's one thing I forgot that's extremely important. When after you've got your front hand out and you've got your release back, you must push. I push away. I push forward with my front hand and back with that hand. It's not about holding my front hand there and just pulling back with that one like a back tension release. I push both away from each other, and I like both away equally. And I found the pin stays. It doesn't move as much.
So you just start pushing and pulling.
If you push and pull, the pin doesn't move as much.
So where does the push and pull come into the release phase or into the...
Sorry, it should be here. It should be here. So pull back straight, and right here, I'll put it in red.
Yeah.
You want to get the push and the pull before, and then there's no movement. So you've equalised. The push and the pull have equalised, but you're pushing and pulling. And never hold on to the bow. This is the last thing. I'm going to put that in red. The finish off is the follow through. The follow through, right? So here you've got to push and pull. There, okay? So you've got to push and pull here, and I reckon that keeps the pin on better. And once you've done that, you just want to make sure you just go boom with your release and it's all over. Just that little pinky there I'm using at the moment. Now, I want to so once you've worked out how you're going to set your release off, and like practice with your eyes shut 30 metres from the butt. Shut your eyes and you can feel. I'll tell you, if your eyes are open, you can't do it. There's something about your brain. It's such a technical thing, making an arrow shot. You just cannot think of more than...
It's weird, isn't it?
You can't. You go, did I or didn't I?
You close your eyes, you can do a perfect shot every time.
You shut your eyes and you're just thinking about setting that release off, or like back tensioning it off. On my back tension, I shut my eyes to the back tension and it's perfect. All right? So, the last thing is follow through. Now, Gary Pearce will tell you, and I'll say it to you as well, if you're shooting badly, follow through. You've got to exaggerate your follow through. If you're shooting really well, follow through, exaggerate your follow through. So I remember shooting at the 1440 when I was so far ahead no one can catch me. First thing is I shot 70, I shot a 48.
Is this at the Nationals?
At the Nationals.
This is at the Nationals.
And I was following through beautifully.
This is at 90, so at 90 you
No, it was at 70.
Okay, yep. So you've got
Masters.
70, 60, 50, 30. That's
Yes, correct, yep.
So
I shot
70 you killed it.
70 I killed it, right? And I was following through beautifully and I could feel it. And I got to 60 following through. When I got to 50 I collapsed and that's how they caught up. I realised now what I'd done. I'd stopped following through. Where was my coach? That's what I want to know. Where was he to tell me, you're not following through? But that's how you can forget. So, this week I've shot 36 arrows at 50 metres on 2 different days. On the first day I shot 100 rating. On the second day I started to shoot, and I was shooting 100 rating until I shot like a 58 and a 57. Then all of a sudden, I shot a 53 and a 54. And I thought, what? I don't know what's happening, you know. And then I realised when I came back and I shot my first arrow, and it was a 9, I thought, I'm not following through. How did I forget?
How did you?
And I started to follow through,
Gary.
and I started to follow through and shot a 58 and 2 57s.
Straight back into it.
Yeah, just because of the follow through. I just forgotten to follow through, and it's so easy to forget one part of the process. That's why you've got to Practice it and practice it and practice it, and be aware of all the things that make up the shot.
Well, I think if you break the process down like this too, it makes it easy to remember everything. So
Yes.
instead of remember everything, you go, okay, I remember the first step. Now
Yeah,
I go to remember
so
the second step.
we'll bring a
now
close
I
up
remember
when
the
we
third
finish,
step.
and you can take a photo of it for your own personal files.
That's right.
But
Yep.
that last thing, that follow through, is absolutely vital. And I remember when I first started shooting, I was shooting next to Brian Politis, and he in his lane, and he turned around and looked at me and said, "You're not following through." I didn't even know what a follow through was. But there you go. So it is crucial to follow through. If you follow through, I've got a finger sling. The bow just falls straight out. I don't hang on to it. The bow should just leave. You cannot grab the bow. Yeah, so you're on there like that. I got the finger sling on there like that. The bow's in here. The bow's in there. When I just oh gee, it pulled it off. Right, this is one of Big Tony's. Thanks, Big Tony. Good day, Big T.
Big T.
All right. So the riser's there. When I shoot, I know I followed through when I hit my finger sling. I do not grip the bow at all. You can't grip the bow. You can't. And if I feel anything in this hand, I know the shot's high.
Oh,
The shot, as we call it, hand, don't
Yep,
we?
we
You go
get
hand.
it in
A
the front
hand means I felt something in my hand, and it will always go high. Always. So a perfect follow through will mean you haven't done anything with this hand to affect the shot, and that's what you want. And then you go back to the release here, and if the release is good, you've done nothing to the shot. Then you go back to there, the pin was in the middle. It's got to hit it. You see?
Yeah, okay, all right.
And that's it. That's the whole process, like that.
So you can work out a mistake. So if you shoot high,
Well, you'll feel it in your
you
hand.
feel it in
You'll
your hand. So
in
you've
your
got a bit
hand.
of front hand. So where does that come back to? The
You
follow
didn't,
through.
you didn't follow through
You
properly.
didn't follow through. Oh,
You should
see.
feel nothing. And if you're getting left and right shots, if this is okay, you can judge by where the arrows are landing what you're doing with your release. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So we have a very dear friend, and he'll shoot a X10-10 every time, and then a 7-8
Like X10-10 in the centre, like smoke 'em in the centre.
and then 9-8-7. What is he doing? Hello. What is he doing with the other three shots? How could you be always? He always shoots like 3-10s, but he just blows it every time, shooting a 6 and an 8 and a 7, or 2 8s and a 7. It's just, what I would say is, you've got to work out what you're doing with those bad shots. There's something happening, and it's consistent. So if it's a consistent problem, it can be fixed. If it's random,
Right.
you've got no
Back
hope.
in a second.
Yeah, if you got a problem, and it's consistent. Hello, Phil Scarp. I haven't looked at any of this because I've been too busy talking. The best collaboration video you guys have done. It is good, isn't it? So I'm working on beating everybody next year. So I know what I've got to do. I've got to go to the gym and get stronger. Oh, I've totally changed the way I train. When I played football, when you're a kid, you run around, you're playing football, you don't really care. But when I started playing first grade football, the motto was, you play like you train. If you turn up and you're half-hearted at football on Tuesday and Thursday night, you're not going to play well on Saturday. You have to train like you play. So what I've done, I've realised that my training isn't good enough. Because we'd go down there for 4 hours. Jimmy used to shoot bang, 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 bang. 4 hours of shooting, right? Every day, like just bang. But that made us pretty good. But I've realised to get to the next level, this is what I'm going to do. This is the other part. I'm going to train differently. I'm not going to shoot as many arrows, but they're all going to be 10s.
Oh,
do you understand what I mean?
Practice.
They all have to be 10s. I'm going to record everything that I shoot. I'm just not going to shoot 100 arrows. I might shoot 1 or 2 rounds of 50 meters and record the scores. And I noticed I shot 110 rating last weekend.
110.
That's at the Samford, right? You know the Samford, which is 40 metres on an 80 centimetre face, 40 metres, 90 arrows. Okay. I cleaned it once, and I got to the last end, and I thought, and see, because I shoot a lot and I'm really fit, I just go bang,
match fitness,
bang, 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 and I shoot, you know, and then I'm
Just
always
throwing them
the
down
first one to sit down, right? And I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot one and rest. Because, you know, lactic acid builds up. Lactic acid can build up. So I thought, in this last end, I'm going to shoot an arrow and then wait 10 seconds. And I find it very hard because I just want to go bang, 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 bang.
I just want to stick them out. I do that too. I just want to get out there and boom, 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 boom.
So I stopped for 10 seconds. I waited. I let that arm cool down. I came up, took the shot. But then I stopped. I didn't load. I waited because I got plenty of time. Compounders have got plenty of time, and I'm not kidding. The group was like that.
Tightened right up.
Cleaned it easily. So I'm going to train like that now. I'm going to take time on every shot. I'm not going to rush an end. I'm going to take plenty of time. And I find it very hard. I do. I just want to shoot again.
You just want to throw them down there.
No, but I've got to stop. I've got to let the lactic acid go. So if you've got less lactic acid and this is more rested, you're not going to have a problem here. I found that. I think because, you know, like by arrow 4 and 6, when you just go bang, 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 4 and 6 have to be harder than 1 and 2 because you're getting tighter as you shoot. So now I'm resting. So now that's how I'm going to shoot like I would compete. I wasn't doing that before.
So really, we should put it first thing rested.
Oh, no, I was going to put that somewhere else. Where else are I going to put that?
At the end?
No, hang on. We'll put it here. Okay, so you have to rest. You must rest between shots.
292, that's pretty good shooting, Paul. Robert wants to know what the best bow is. Just go to your local shop and try heaps and see which one you like the best. It's the best way to say, isn't it? It's the only
We'll
way.
get sponsored by someone.
Yeah.
So rest between shots. That's what I'm working on now. So I'm going to the gym to get stronger. I'm not just going to say, oh, I want to be better, I'm going to shoot thousands of arrows. Now I'm going to shoot like I would compete. I'm going to slow every end down, and I've got to score everything, and I've got to see that score go up because of what I do. And I'm working on releasing now with the pinky. But it's very hard because I've already made a habit of shooting one way and it's ingrained. So it's hard to change certain things. It's going to take time, but you've just got to keep working on it. If you're dedicated and you really want to shoot better, you've got to find one of these things that's not working, and you've got to break the habit that you've got on it. You've got to break that habit.
And have faith that it's going to work. So just keep pushing.
We call it pin faith.
Pin
That's
faith.
why I don't look. I might shoot the first 2 warm-up ends and look through either my binoculars or the spotting scope. But once I know the pin's on, I don't look. There's no need to look. I will just start seeing the centre getting darker and darker and darker, and you just keep shooting into that dark area. You know what I'm saying? Like, so once you know your pin's on, there's no need to keep looking and going, well, you know, oh, it's left, I'll aim right. No. It went left because you didn't release properly.
Oh, it's 10 past 10.
I've got to go.
All right, guys.
So
That's it.
well, we're going to shoot against Tim soon. As soon as it stops raining, it is pouring here. So
It's crazy.
So I have to leave. But next time you see us, we'll be shooting the 5 spot.
Indoor. No, IFAA.
IFA. Yeah, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, guys. Hit the like button. There's 46 of you. There should be 46 likes.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Hit the like button. If you like Greg, make sure you hit that like button. I'll see you soon. Jingle jangle.
2018.